greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
Hello everyone, No One of Consequence here, back again with a new video. This is episode 36 in the series, which recounts my ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, which is now in its 9th year. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to hit the like button at the end. So spoiler alert, in this video I will be revealing details that are found in this adventure module. And as a reminder, this is current makeup of the adventuring party. One change you'll see is that after having completed the Hill Giant adventure, everyone advanced to 8th level. That's reflected here. Now, speaking of the Hill Giant adventure, one thing that I didn't really elaborate on last time, when the characters found the Hill Giant Chief's treasure room, among the other valuables, one of the things that they found was some clues talking about who the Hill Giants were working for. And that's reflected in this paragraph here, which is found in the adventure module. And it provides the means for the characters to continue on with this series of adventures. And as you can see here, there's a map of the Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl, and then also a means by which the characters can easily get there. And you can read the description there about the magic chain that lets them teleport to that location. So in addition to all the other loot, the characters of course took that stuff as well. And where we left off in the last video, the characters were back at the inns celebrating. Then after that, they went to report back to the Archbishop of Lorish, which is the town in western Voluna where they're based out of, to tell him what they had found. And he gave to the characters a crystal ball, which was tuned so that the characters could communicate directly with King Belvor of Furiondi and Hazen, the High Priest of Voluna, who from several videos back are the people who sent them on this quest. So the characters use that to contact the king and the high priest, and they describe their battles in the Hill Giant Fort. And also the clues that they discovered indicated a connection to the Frost Giants. And the characters told them about the magic chain, which would allow them to teleport directly to the Frost Giant lair. So the king and the high priest told the characters to use that device and continue to punish the giants for their attacks on the lands of Voluna. So the characters first equipped themselves for the expected extreme cold weather, and then they went ahead and used that magic chain to teleport to the Frost Giant stronghold. They immediately found themselves standing near a rock outcropping with a small cave entrance. And then off in the distance, about 2 miles away, they could see a huge rift in the glacial ice. So just like at the Hill Giant Fort, the characters found that this small cave could be used as a base of operations during the time they were here. And in their preparations, they had brought along one of their mules, which they had loaded with firewood and hay, expecting that they would need that here. And then also each character carried in their arms a barrel of extra supplies, which they thought they might need. And you can see they're labeled here. Some might be considered essential and some maybe not so much. But at any rate, the characters left all of these extra supplies and the mule stashed in this cave, and then they went back out to go scout out the Frost Giants' glacier. So the characters approached the edge of the rift, which you can see here, and the characters are up on the surface of the glacier, overlooking this big, rift in the ice. And the module map, the exterior map, shows different elevation levels, and rather than constantly trying to describe that information to the characters, I just labeled different places with the elevation that the players themselves could see, because I figured their characters would be able to estimate anyway, so I would just give them that information they could see for themselves. So they're up on the surface of the glacier, overlooking down into the rift, and immediately below where they are, about 75 feet down, is a shelf on the ice down in the rift, and then they could see some cave openings as well. And so the characters were trying to decide, should they use ropes and lower themselves down to this ice shelf, or they could see off to the north, or which would be kind of off to the right in this view. There was like I guess a ramp, for lack of a better word, descending from the surface of the glacier down into the rift. So there was one of two ways. They could pick one of two ways to try to get down into the rift. So what they ended up doing was, instead of using ropes, they just walked down to the far northern edge of the rift and use this ramp to get down into the rift. And here they're still outside. They're just now down inside the glacier rift. You can see the streaks from the blowing snow. And it split off into two different directions, one along the west side of the rift and along the east side of the rift. So they started off going down the western side. They soon found one of those ice caves. They went inside and were almost immediately confronted by a band of Yeti. So the monsters started moving into attack, and the characters deployed out. And you can see here in this screenshot on the far left-hand side, Obrak and Varys almost managed to get themselves surrounded by these Yeti. And the other characters are with that other Yeti. But what they ended up doing, the characters slowly backed up until they could form a cohesive line of defense, and then just started fighting the Yetis that way. Unfortunately, at one point in the battle, Aramis rolled a fumble. You can see in the chat window he lost his grip on a sword, and it went flying off and ended up embedded in the wall of the ice next to Thorol. But then Thorol also noticed that what turned out to be the leader of the Yeti had circled around a side cave and was moving up to attack the characters from behind. But luckily, the characters were able to eventually defeat all of the Yeti without a whole lot of damage to themselves. Obrak took a beating, but overall, everyone's alright. So the characters went back out. They did find some treasure in there, but then they went back outside to that shelf of ice and continued down along it and found another cave in the wall of ice. So they went inside it, and it turned out to be the den of a pair of snow leopards. And these monsters managed to score a few hits on the characters, but soon they were defeated. And they found a third ice cave, and it was all foggy inside. They couldn't really see. So Gorb went inside, and Obrak stood just inside the entrance in case Gorb needed any help. And he explored the perimeter of the room, and all he found was that there were cracks in the floor, in the ice floor, and fog was rising up through the cracks, obscuring the vision in here. But except for slipping and falling a couple of times. Gorb didn't find anything of interest in here. So rather than continuing down that western side of the glacial rift, the characters went back to the entrance ramp and then turned and started working down the eastern side because they could see some ice caves along that wall as well. So they went down and came to the first ice cave entrance in the eastern wall and went inside. And they could see that just inside this cave branched off into like a four-way intersection. And so most of the characters decided to wait near the entrance and let Garrett, the thief, use his stealth abilities to do some exploring by himself. And so he spent some time doing that, and then he reported back that the branch going straight ahead or off to the right was a dead end, but the both the north and the south passages led to chambers with frost giants in them. So what they did next, Varys cast a clairvoyance spell, and then he used it. He crept up first up the northern chamber until he could just see the chamber where the frost giants were, and the clairvoyance spell allowed him to look inside that chamber as if he were there himself. And so even though he's way down at the very far edge of the screen here, he was able to see all four of these frost giants sitting around in what appeared to be a barracks room. So he backed away from that, went to the southern chamber that Garrett had told him about, and did the same thing. The clairvoyance spell allowed him to see in the chamber as if he was there himself. And the reason the characters did that was to get an idea of how many giants they were talking about and potentially facing, and if there were other tunnels. So after Varys did that, the characters retreated back to the entrance of the ice cave and decided what they were going to do. And the plan was, first they would have Niobe cast Bless on the whole party, and then she would cast Silence 15-foot radius on Aramis. And the reason for that was they were hoping that by having a silence spell with them, that they would be able to defeat each of the frost giant chambers individually without one group being able to call for help from the other, because in the overall scheme of things, the two chambers of frost giants were not that far apart, and they were worried that the sounds of battle in one room would draw the attention of the other room. So they went back inside, and you can see this like a purple area here, and that's denotes the limit of the silence spell, and it's centered on Aramis. So the characters first went to the smaller chamber that only had 3 giants, and since they all essentially just rushed in under that silence effect, they got a free round of action, and they used it to quickly surround the first frost giant and begin attacking him. But then, of course, the other frost giants moved up, and it ended up in a general melee, but at least there was a silence spell, so it was all quiet. And the characters got lucky in this round. You can see in the chat window, it was both Varys and Gorb scored critical hits on the one frost giant there. And they were able to inflict enough damage on him to finish him off. But then the very same round, one of the frost giants scored a critical hit on one of the characters. Not sure which one, maybe Uberak, not sure. Maybe Gorb. But anyway, the luck works both ways. And as you can see from the damage die in the chat window, frost giants can hit pretty hard. But eventually this group of giants was finished off. So then the characters quickly move to that northern chamber with 4 frost giants, and before they went in, Thorol cast a haste spell on the party so that they would get double movements, double attacks, and all that. They were wanting to try to finish these all fairly quickly. And they ran inside. Erebus immediately moved over to the eastern or the right hand side because once they got in here, they could see that there was a tunnel leading off in that direction, and the characters didn't want any sounds of battle escaping down that tunnel. But unfortunately, once again, Aramis rolled a fumble and got the same result as before. He threw his weapon, and you can see his sword there stuck in the wall of ice. But the other characters managed to do better, and after several rounds of combat, they defeated most of these frost giants. One of the frost giants, however, managed to run out of the chamber, and he started running down that tunnel, that eastern tunnel that I just mentioned. But since the characters were still hasted, they were able to quickly catch up to the frost giant and finish him off. So the characters continued on down that tunnel that the frost giant was running, and they found off to the side a storeroom holding food and drink supplies for the frost giants. But just digging around, Gore managed to find some valuables as well. So after that, the characters went back outside to the entrance that they had come in by and continued further along that eastern shelf of ice. And they came to another cave, ice cave, and went inside, which you can see here. And branching off from it, they found a chamber which contained what appeared to be the corpses of several dead adventurers. They were all frozen in standing positions inside solid blocks of ice. You can see in the screenshot there's several of them. Although there also appeared to be some valuables encased in the ice along with each of these adventurers, the characters decided to just leave this room alone, at least for the time being. Alright, well that's all I have for now. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment, share the video anywhere you think others might enjoy it, and anything you can do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.
The greatest adventure is what lies